Welcome to Night Shadows. I'm Stuart Best, where the paranormal is normal, where that which you thought you knew, you didn't, and where the future can be known if you know exactly where to look.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we've got Larry with us, and it's kind of hard to know where to start, but let's start with this Susan Rice Obama situation, which is, of course, the left is going insane over and trying to dump everything onto Trump, even though Hillary Clinton's ties to the Russia are very well known. And well, when the left is in power, they just do whatever they want, and they're now being deprived, and so they're having hissy fits. It's kind of like a little baby that's throwing a tantrum because it can't get its own way. Hi, Larry. How you doing?
Hello, Stuart. Thanks for having me. You're exactly right. The left is they become the lawless ones.
Yeah, but how far does this extend? I mean, they're actually going insane. I mean, they're crazy. So how far do you think this? Well, number one, of course, we know that if you tell a big enough lie long enough and loud enough, that the average person will believe it. And what I'm wondering about is why we aren't on the right doing the same thing, only louder, et cetera, et cetera. What is really going on here? I mean, is Trump really unmasking all these? And I read an article, they say some people are already being arrested. Have you heard anything about that?
Just in the background, there seems to be some background reports of some of this activity going on that what's interesting, though, and apparently the border is making a difference. Even before the fence is built, it appears that they are really shutting down that southern border to some degree. Mm-hmm. Now, at the same time, you asked how far will the left go, and I think literally, from what I can see, they would go to the destruction of our nation.
In other words, if they can't have their way, they might as well just get rid of America. Well, that fits in with the New World Order and the Illuminati, because I think basically that is their plan. That if the Americans, James Garner, now I can't remember, or Gardner, I can't remember, I think he was Secretary of State or something like that, a long time ago, made the comment that America was going to be absorbed in the New World Order either by consent or by conquest, that it didn't matter. In other words, if the American people would not acquiesce, they would be forced to go into it, and if that didn't work, they would simply destroy the United States, take her out. And what a lot of people, I think, don't realize, if you read Psalm 2, they use, they could use North Korea. But it's really not an attack from North Korea. It's an attack from the Illuminati using North Korea to do it, or using Russia to do it. I think people really do need to pay attention to Psalm 2, where it says there's really not too many exceptions. In fact, I don't find one. The kings and rulers of the earth set themselves against the Lord and against his anointed. That's pretty much a blanket statement. And I guess if you've got all that power and you've got all that weapons and you've got all the money, then you can set up your wars, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think? Is this where we're headed?
Well, I think it appears to be, and it's interesting you mentioned North Korea, because I heard one of the generals today on Fox saying, when asked about if they thought Trump having a summit with the Chinese president in the next day or so was going to put a clamp down on North Korea, he indicated that he thought this had gone so far that even China couldn't stop Kim.
Well, that's the bothersome part. I mean, obviously China would have treaties with North Korea, but North Korea is a danger to China as well. So they might set this thing up and just tell Trump we'll have at it, and we'll see what happens. But they have to be very, very careful with this thing. This thing is exceedingly dangerous. We know he has nukes. We know he has missiles. And we probably don't know exactly how advanced some of this stuff really is. You know, he might bring out a surprise or two. He can at least hit Hawaii. I think they're afraid he could hit Hawaii right now. So,
yeah,
what would be your guess they'll do militarily? Or
well,
we will do militarily?
Yeah, we've seen indications that they really would like to take Kim and his high-level advisors out in a surgical strike. Of course, we don't know on that. However, the North Koreans fired a missile into the Sea of Japan this morning, and now they're indicating that South Korea believes it was a test of a new missile technology even that we didn't know they had. And now they're claiming the U.S., Japan, and South Korea are incredibly concerned with where this is headed. And there are some that don't believe China will be able to stop the North Koreans at all. And, of course, that would indicate a Holocaust because there would be millions dead. And the interesting thing, North Korea can easily decimate the capital of South Korea. I mean, just with artillery,
yep.
It's that close.
So, I guess the insiders. I think you reported on that the last couple of updates that one of the insiders said the guy's actually crazy, and he actually will retaliate.
Yeah, that was actually a high-level North Korean that had got over into South Korea, and they brought him to the U.S. and talked to him, and he indicated that Kim had already had plans to use nukes and to go to war. I mean, just at the drop of a hat, so to speak. And so it's very, very dangerous. But the other thing is, Stuart, and I'd like your opinion on that. We at the same time are having this situation in Syria with this chemical weapons usage, and nobody, I guess, knows for sure. They indicate Assad did it, but, that may not always be accurate when people say that. And at the same time, we've got the situation with NATO on the border of Russia, and we've got the Chinese in the South China Sea. We got trouble everywhere.
Well, this is it. I think what we're looking at really is that the Armageddon Script is going live. That'd be my guess, that they're going to make it go live in the next couple of weeks or so. And that script calls for a North Korean, South Korean crisis. China then takes advantage of all the confusion and takes Taiwan. And, of course, they have those artificial islands in the South China Sea. We've threatened those. The United States has. I don't know what we could do about it. Now, we have trouble in the Balkans, and we have trouble in Israel and Golan and Syria and all that. That sounds to me like the Armageddon Script. And if you watch the military buildups, this thing appears to be going live. All they need is an ignition point.
Yeah, you're so right. And just before Trump even came into office, remember after 8 years of Obama, the generals were literally saying we could only fight one war at a time. We certainly couldn't fight 2 or 3 or 4 regional wars. So where do we stand, Stuart? We're literally standing with a decimated military completely. we cannot fight an Armageddon Script.
No, we would be we'd be done as far as being able to help anybody, and I don't know what we would do at that point. And there's absolutely no question in my mind. You were talking about Assad. Assad did not do that. Remember that happened once before, and they later proved it wasn't Assad at all that did that. It was probably deep state that did that because they want a war. They want a war. They want a world war. And if they can bait Trump into going into Syria, then he's fighting Russia. He's fighting Putin. So, and we know for a fact that they want their war. These are idiots. They're insane. They think somehow they're going to survive all this. They don't care about you or I on the surface. They'll go underground, and they think they'll survive it. Well, I got news for them. They won't. And again, I don't want to preach, but they ought to really read their Bibles.
Yeah. And what's interesting, I was just going to mention, you were saying, talking about the deep state, they are more and more coming out now and identifying the deep state simply as being the last 8 years of Obama administration's embeds within our own government in all areas of our government, and also the Republican establishment. That is deep state, and that is what Trump is fighting.
Yeah, and he's not, well, hopefully he will be able to, I mean, the Lord did promise that he would reveal all the corruption and all that nasty stuff, which he seems to be doing. We're getting in this Susan Rice thing. She has direct ties with Obama. They were best of buddies. You can't tell me that he didn't have all that information. I think they're going to get him. I think remember that vision that I can't remember if it was a lady or who it was, but they had a vision that Obama was going to get caught red-handed. Looks to me like maybe this is starting to unfold, that it will lead right directly to him. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because, we've got a new Rothman code which indicates exactly that. And
yeah, get into that.
Yeah, the Judge Napolitano, he got back on Fox News after they couldn't discredit his statement that he made about Obama and using the UK spy system to spy on on Trump.
Yes.
And he's back on today, and he was saying today, he said, you're looking at Loretta Lynch, who unmasked all this. Loretta Lynch is a political officer that worked for Obama. Her only supervisor, her only boss was Barack Obama. And Napolitano said what you do is you go after her, but you also bring Barack Obama in under oath, and you question him too. Now, we're talking about real trouble because they don't want that to happen. The left doesn't, because they don't want the exposure. But there's a very interesting Torah code that just came out. I sent you a copy of it, by the way. It's still under construction from Barry Rothman today, and it's called Susan Rice and Obama Spy on President Trump. And Barry Rothman did a Torah code today, April 5th, and number 1, Spy Trump, 2, Rice, number 3, Obama. And then he also ran a side code that showed the wording number 4, Obama wiretap, number 5, president, number 6, for crime. So basically that says that the ones spying on Trump are Rice, Susan Rice, and Barack Obama. And the side code says that Obama set wiretaps when he was president, and it was a crime. And so that's the Torah code. That's the new stuff. And, we haven't never found the Torah codes are wrong when you have the dots to connect to ask the right questions.
Exactly. And so this looks like it's going to unravel and go right directly to Obama. And Susan Rice, of course, she got caught probably in the middle, but she lied before. Loretta Lynch, these people, she's the one who said we want blood in the streets. So, and crime in the streets, nobody did anything about that. That's inciting riots and actually probably murder in the streets of our cities. That would be, her call would be to the American Spring. The left has to know where all these skeletons are laying. And so, do you think they would go to just about anything to stop this, including, of course, trying to keep. Yeah, go ahead.
I think you're exactly right, Stuart. I think they'll go to any degree to stop this. And you remember now the beginning of the Muslim Brotherhood, Arab Spring, was supported and brought about basically by Barack Obama. And he began it in the Middle East countries, especially Egypt. And I think that's the playbook that they will begin in the spring, which we're now in the spring in America, that soon as this begins to hit the fan, they will bring the people into the streets, and we will see blood in the streets, Stuart. I don't see any other way around it. This is not good. And we already, what's interesting, Jeremiah 51 talks about ruler against ruler. And I thought today, as I was watching the Republicans and the Democrats battle back and forth politically in Congress, that is literally ruler against ruler in our face. Actually, it's prophecy playing out in our face, ruler against ruler, and it'll lead into the streets.
Yeah, because it says there's violence in the land, ruler against ruler. So we're watching well, of course, they've already announced it. When Loretta Lynch, high level, I mean, she was an attorney general. And so when she announces something like, we got to have blood in the streets, we've got to have riots, we got to do this, we got to take this to the streets itself, that's a communist revolution. And I don't, for the life of me, even if I watch Fox News, nobody is mentioning the Marxist, communist, Fabian socialist connection. Or, for that matter, the mystery connection of the Bible, Masonry, and all that. So I think we're watching the beginnings of the takedown of the United States. Well, we did say, did we not, that we thought that Trump meant judgment. It doesn't matter whether he's part of it, not part of it, trying to actually do what he says he's trying to do or not. They will use him, and they have been entrenched for years, building this communist New World Order, fascist communist New World Order. It's really kind of a different thing. If you go into the book of Revelation and you see the beast has feet of a bear, the body of a leopard, and the head of a lion, and what it seems to do is take the most evil parts of Russia and probably Nazi Germany or fascism, and its close ties to Islam, which a lot of people really probably don't realize, but they should look it up. And then you've got Fabian socialism from England for the New World Order. So it's all really starting to come together. And I think the American people basically are being played like a fiddle. And all of this is diversionary. It's not that it's not real. It is. But don't you think this is going to bring chaos? I don't see how the left can sit there and let this happen without, like you were saying, pull out all the stops. I don't think they'd stop short of assassination if they thought it would work.
Yeah, I don't know if you've kept up with the movie Homeland, but if people want a clue where we're at and why they wouldn't let Homeland be played on the screen, on the TV, before and during the election, you got to watch Homeland. All of this is laid out right in your face, and the goal in Homeland is to kill the new president-elect. They go all the way to stop the new president-elect from taking office. And by the way, I wanted to get your opinion on this. Stan Deyo posted a new spot on his website today, headline, And, of course, we're aware that New York has declared itself as a sanctuary city, New York City, and then
yes.
California, much of California has literally declared itself and going to be apparently a sanctuary state, and they even have legislation lined up to leave the union if they can't get rid of Trump. But listen to this, and I want your opinion. A new headline from Standeo. People are fleeing Southern California and New York at an alarming rate, heading south, heading towards Texas and Florida. Many people leaving coast and west coast, moving inland.
So what do they know we don't?
Well, they may know that things are going to get bad in those areas.
Yeah, that would be my guess. They've already got the underground rumbles, and so they're figuring out, well, this is not going to work. I mean, California goes as a state, they'll all go there. They flock to these sanctuary cities, right?
Yeah, that's one of the things. I watched some talk on Fox today, and they were interviewing a couple of people involved in California, and they said they were scared to death for their families because they said if California goes for a sanctuary state, no matter what else California might do, that would literally be a magnet to the illegals and the terrorists in this country to flock to California, and they'll be deluged by lawlessness.
Reminds me of the movie Escape from L.A. Remember that movie?
Yeah. I do.
Probably be bad as that. What's this deal now? I haven't heard a lot about it, but they're tying in Blackwater's Eric Prince to some of this. Do you know what that's about? Have you heard anything about that?
I had heard rumors that Eric Prince, who used to be, run Blackwater, and then they changed it to another group's name out of country. They were mercenary groups.
Yes.
That possibly he was offering some services or trying to offer services with a connection to Putin or Russia for dialogue. Now, whether that's true, who knows? I mean, literally, who knows? But you can't blame Trump for everything that everybody in the world does and comes up with.
Well, the only reason I bring this up is this. Sort your fall at ne'er-do-well, erstwhile, whoever, KBG or what do they call themselves now? FSB, I guess. She wrote an article in December of 2016, and you and I think, talked about it. An intriguing Federal Security Services information bulletin circulating to Kremlin today reports that the Security Council has authorized Monarch Air Group to use 7 private charter flights to move special resources to New York City and Washington, D.C., beginning on 20 January 2017 in order to fill a contract with the Moscow-based private security company RSB Group, who in turn were contracted with this past week by President-elect Donald Trump to protect his person, family, and properties from the demonic globalist elites that have been seeking his destruction. Is that going to come back to bite him?
Oh, I don't know. I don't even know if that's true. I do know that there were some in Colorado claiming that they had seen some Russians, military or mercenaries there, along with some Chechen special forces. Now, nobody knows what they're there for. So we don't know. I mean, a lot of this stuff we just don't know. Hey, I was going to ask you
a lot of wild rumor.
Yeah, I was going to ask you another. I wanted to bring up real quick here. Barry Rothman, back in February, after they came out with this shocking evidence of this round dwarf star called TRAPPIST-1, Barry Rothman ran a Torah code, and lo and behold, TRAPPIST-1 is listed along with its entourage. And now I was kind of shocked to see that there's a report came out today, actually, from SpaceDaily.com, And I posted it today on my blog, and it says TRAPPIST-1 flares threaten possibility of any habitability on surrounding exoplanets, that they are suddenly observing strange flares from that brown dwarf sun, wherever it's located and whatever it is. You know, you and I have talked about, could that possibly be the destroyer? And this is one of the smoke screens calling it TRAPPIST-1, but TRAPPIST-1 is in the Tor codes.
Well, it's very, very interesting that it's possibly beginning to ignite. A brown dwarf can do that as it approaches the sun and gets irritated, and then it begins to ignite. It could flare. Remember the movie 2012? No.
2010, wasn't it?
Was it 2010? Yeah, where Jupiter ignited and became the second sun. And this is
2010,
big in the
the
New
Space
Age
Odyssey.
movie. Yes, and that was this was in the New Age movement that we were going to have a second sun. So if TRAPPIST-1, and it seems odd that it has 7 planets, because I do remember a prophecy that said we would see an object come through and it would have 7 planets surrounding it. And it would be a sign of the end. I'll have to try and dig that up if I can. But, isn't it odd to you that we're talking about Planet 9, TRAPPIST-1, but no mention of the destroyer, whatever?
Absolutely. I remember one time George Norrie was famous for saying he didn't believe in coincidences.
Well, not a coincidence of this size, because it almost sounds to me like what they're trying to do is prepare us for this thing to ignite and come through the system, which would mean it's probably what we call the destroyer. Which and the timing of this is just about right for it, because if you go into Revelation chapter 12, that's where you see the great red dragon show up right after that star sign that only occurs on September 23rd.
That's right.
So
that's right. We had somebody email. Yeah, we had somebody email us wondering about that. What you thought about that star sign with the dragon and the woman and all of this for September 23rd, 2017.
Yeah, no, there's no question that is a correct star sign, and it is the one in the Bible. And maybe Friday we could get into some of these things that people have asked about. We got one on the flat Earth and all that sort of thing. And I can only say about the flat Earth, it's amazing to me that people buy into this sort of thing, and it makes me wonder if it's a deep state just testing the people to see what they'll accept and what they won't. Anyway, how do people reach you before we sign off for tonight?
Oh, the quickest way is my blog, LarryWTaylor.org. That's LarryWTaylor.org.
Well, we could close out with this Gorshef, the judge. Why would they take the nuke? I mean, the Democrats got to be crazy unless they know something nobody else knows. Like it doesn't really matter. Anyway, we'll thank everybody here for listening, and we'll see you Friday with a longer expose of what's going on in Washington. Anyway, thanks for listening, and good night, everybody.